Night vision on.
What's going on, guys? Rocky Tactics here, and today I am talking about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Again, kinda. Um, I had a video made that was public for a short period of time. It's been private for a while. I just wasn't satisfied with the video that I made on this game originally, so I decided to revisit Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It is October 24th, 2022. And to this point, to this day, I believe that this is truly a Ubisoft cult classic. I think that this is a marvel in post-launch support. I think that this is one of the only times Ubisoft has done right by its community by listening and making a product everything that it can be and as good as it possibly can be. And I think that it deserves to be talked about. The game came out in July, summer of 2019, but to me, it's kind of probably the most underrated game of, the 2020s at this point. The people who have played and enjoyed Ghost Recon Breakpoint after the Ghost Experience update have, rarely anything bad to say about the game. I mean, there are issues with the game that are built in, like the animations for the reloads are not very true to life. They're not very good. They're just not that good. That's just something that has been built into the game since its launch, since its early development, and there's not really much that can be done about that in a timely fashion. I think that there's so many weapons in the game. There's so much variety, and I think that it's not necessarily time efficient for Ubisoft to go in and do a gunplay update and do an animations overhaul. They have to make another game, sadly, eventually, which I think we should all kind of be excited for another Ghost Recon game eventually, one of these days. But there are, deep-rooted issues with the game. The AI is not the greatest thing ever, but you can play the game on harder difficulties with a lot less HUD and, have a more tactical experience, which is originally what everyone has always wanted from Ghost Recon, and I think that this game provides a pseudo-realistic tactical experience that I think is worth exploring if you're into games like Ready or Not, or even like Squad and Insurgency, and now we have games like Ground Branch. And I'm not a big Zero Hour fan. I think that Zero Hour is kind of bad, but there are people who enjoy that game too, and I think that this game has a lot to offer. The open world, while it is slightly empty, while it isn't the most lived in, I think that it is very immersive. I think that the areas in the game that have a lot of people seem super off and cheesy, but I think that when you're in, you're in the hills on a snowy mountain, you're in the forest at night with night vision on, or it's raining, it's snowing super hard. It's very, very atmospheric at times, and it's kind of sad that more content doesn't take place. There's not very much content in the game that takes place in the wild. You know what I mean? There's just not very much of that. A lot of it is like compounds and bases and stuff that are as you can see, the gameplay that's playing right now, there's hills around us and there's wild around us, but within the gameplay environment, it's just, looks like Breakpoint. But as you can see from the opening montage that I decided to make, because I feel like it does Ghost Recon Breakpoint a lot of justice, and its sound design and the graphics. The graphics are probably where this game shines, which is where a lot of Ubisoft games shine. This game is, if you have a high-end system, I have a 5900X and a 6700 XT. If you have high-end computer components, if you have a very, a big-time rig, and you can run this game at 1440p or really high settings at 1080, I almost, for the price you can get this game for, I almost like you have to do it. The game looks so amazing, and I'm hoping YouTube encoding doesn't completely not do that justice. I tried to get the best quality footage that I could possibly get my hands on, in order to do the way that the game looks justice, but the graphics are amazing. The sound is amazing. The ambient noises is amazing. The sound that your feet make, the sound that your character toying around with his magazines and his gun makes. All that stuff is extremely high quality. This is, in its production value, it is a AAA game. You know, it doesn't feel cheaply made. This is a quality, you know, the sound designers and the guys who did the visuals and the art style are clearly did their job. This is a AAA experience, especially with, you know, gear scores off and shit like that. The atmosphere is really where this game shines, and it definitely does not get enough credit for that. I think that the launch, the initial impression that this game made was so poor that it just never truly caught traction. It's never truly been appreciated to the depths, to the heights that I believe that it should be. And, you know, I've completely done this commentary in one take. I definitely want this to sound raw. I want it to sound organic. You know, I want you guys to really know what I think about this game pretty much off the top of my head. It's one of my comfort games. So whenever I get super bored, I've got Fallout 4, I have Cyberpunk, I have this game, and those three games, most of the time, are things that I'll continuously go back to. And this game has kind of made that cut, which says a lot about it to me. As a Ubisoft game, it's chock full of content, so I can continuously come back to Ghost Recon Breakpoint and continuously have things to do. I've actually never finished the original campaign on this game on PC. I most of the time I play the big expansion, the Bodark expansion that they have on PC, which is, you know, the AI is a lot better, the enemies are a lot tougher. It feels a little more tactical. I have to calculate my movements a little better. It's just a better experience. And you know, I feel like even playing it on console when it first released, even playing it on console with the Ghost experience really didn't do it justice. There's a certain visual fidelity that, you know, the last gen consoles just cannot replicate like my system can. And that's another reason I think it's not necessarily largely appreciated. If you are on console, especially maybe you're on a next gen console, if you can get this game for on sale, and you can play it on a next-gen console where it'll run a lot smoother and it'll just generally perform better. This is another big front runner to me for a tactical experience on console, because the console player base doesn't have that much of that. I know semi-recently they got a hold of Insurgency, but you guys don't have like Ready or Not. You guys don't have Ground Branch. You guys don't have that stuff, and I think that Ghost Recon Breakpoint can fill that void for a lot of players. You can customize your experience to be as tactical or as arcadey as you would like it to be, which is one of the probably more innovative features of the game and one of my favorite parts about the game. You can pretty much customize everything from whether or not you want your reloads. You know, if you reload early, do you want to use that ammo out of your pool or not? Do you want it to work more like a Call of Duty game where you're saving all your ammo kind of sort of unrealistically, you know? Things like that. You can customize how many weapons you can carry. So me personally, I like to carry one primary and one secondary, because it forces me to pick the weapon that can perform in the most situations at the highest level, which is what you would want in a real tactical environment. You want to pick something like an M4, maybe a SCAR, something that can kind of excel at almost any range, you know, and it also forces you to have somewhat of a play style. You can carry, I think you can carry 2 primary weapons, which is not what I usually do, because I feel like it's just not very practical. It would be practical in real life, so I'm not going to do it in the game. You know, kind of a little bit of role play. There are some role play elements in Ghost Recon Breakpoint that people don't necessarily realize all the time. You know, I like to run one primary, one secondary, and it gives me a more tactile experience. It makes me have to think about the engagements that I take and play differently depending on what my kit looks like. And I can change it depending on how it is I want to play or what kind of operation it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And the game has so much weapon variety. I'm not going to say all the weapons necessarily feel extremely different because a lot of them don't, but they look the part a lot of the time. So the game has a lot of weapon variety, which is super fun to try to, you know, mix and match loadouts with primaries and secondaries and different attachments and things like that to try to, you know, find a new playstyle, find a new way to play. That's pretty much all I have for today. If you haven't tried Ghost Recon Breakpoint, definitely give it a try. I've been thinking about going back and trying out Wildlands as well. So if I see that game on sale, if I can get the gold edition for under $30 or 20 something bucks, I might buy that game on PC as well and see if it gives me the same feeling. I hear good things about Wildlands 2. So, you know, that is something that I will look into. But that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. I feel like I've done a much better job here in this version of the, you know, revisiting Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, and stay based.
The motherfucking world is a ghetto, full of magazines, full clips, and heavy metal when the smoke settles. I'm just looking for a big yellow in 6-inch stilettos, Dr. Dre. Hello. Percolating, keep 'em waiting while you sitting there hating. Your bitch is hyperventilating, hoping that we penetrating.